Are you listening?
Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Report, your go-to source for all the week's gaming news, nerfed into one show once a week, so you can worry less about reading the news and get back to playing those video games. And on this week's episode, Apex Legends is getting a limited time solo mode, Pokemon Sword and Shield gets a whole lot weirder, WWE 2K developer YUKES is fired, EVO returns us to the world of sports, and finally we ask the age-old question, do video games cause violence? But before we get into any of that, your top headlines. First up, Pokemon Sword and Shield. This week, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company gave gamers a brand new look at the next chapter in Pokemon. The update came in the form of a brand new trailer, which included a look at new Galar Region Pokemon, including the Galarian forms of Zigzagoon, Obstagoon, and Weezings. You know, Pokemon's getting so weird that at this point, I don't know if I'm supposed to catch a Weezing or just toke it up.
You just gotta catch them all.
The Galar region will also be home to Morpeko, a gerbil Pokemon who features a new hangry mode. That's right, the less you feed it, the more angry, dark, and erratic it gets. Trust me, I can't wait for the conversations of being like,
what do you want?
I'm hungry.
What do you want?
For you to feed me!
What do you want?
Now, the update did give gamers a first look at our new rivals. Trainers will compete against Beat, a prideful young man sponsored by the chairman of the Galar Pokemon League, and Marnie, a calm, calculated, I don't have much, just a YouTube channel, this set behind me, but I will follow you to the ends of the earth. Now, if any of that interests you, Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield will both be releasing worldwide on November 15th of 2019. Apex Legends. Since the game's launch back in February, fans of the series have been asking for one thing: solo play! And after hearing about this request for months, EA and Respawn announced this week on Twitter, next week, only one can reign. The Iron Crown Collection event featuring an all-new Solos limited time mode begins on August 13th. It has been a long time since we last stepped foot into the world of sports. And this week, the Evolution Championship Series, otherwise known as EVO, took place in Las Vegas, Nevada. So, let's talk about it in a recurring segment called
Finish him!
If you weren't aware, the Evolution Championship Series was founded in 1996 as a Street Fighter II tournament. Fast forward 23 years later, and EVO is now home to 9 different tournaments, including games like Tekken 7, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mortal Kombat, Dragon Ball FighterZ, and Street Fighter V. This year's event lasted 3 days, with over 9,000 esports players in attendance. And it all culminated when Masato, Bunch, and Takahashi took home first place in Street Fighter V, Dominique Sonic Fox McLean took home first place in Mortal Kombat 11, and Leonardo MK Leo Lopez surpassed 3,000 other competitors to take home first place in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. NBA 2K. Outside of Kobe Bryant's NBA Courtside and NBA Jam, 2K has made the best basketball games ever. And I wish I could say the same for wrestling video games. But WWE 2K has never been able to surpass the glory of No Mercy, WCW vs. NWO Revenge, or WrestleMania 2000. And for over 19 years, Japanese developer YUKES has been responsible for making WWE titles. YUKES has been responsible for games like WWF SmackDown Just Bring It, WWE Day of Reckoning, SmackDown vs. Raw, Legends of WrestleMania, and of course, the WWE 2K series. Now, this week, the Video Game Chronicles broke the news that 2K is parting ways with developer YUKES. In a statement from 2K, they said, WWE 2K20 will be developed by Visual Concepts, who have worked with YUKES on the development of the series since WWE 2K14. As we've continued to invest in the WWE 2K franchise, we've seen the Visual Concept team display incredible passion, talent, and commitment to the future of the series. We thank YUKES for their years of partnership and are excited to see what the Visual Concept team brings to the franchise moving forward.
Yeah.
America. During the production of last week's episode, 2 mass shootings took place, one in El Paso, Texas, and the other in Dayton, Ohio, bringing the total of mass shootings in America to 250 this year. President Donald Trump commented on the tragedy by saying, "The First Lady and I join all Americans in praying and grieving for the victims, their families, and the survivors. We will stand by their side forever. We will never forget." We cannot allow ourselves to feel powerless. We can and will stop this evil contagion. First, we must do a better job of identifying and acting on early warning signs. I am directing the Department of Justice to work in partisan partnership with local, state, and federal agencies, as well as social media companies to develop tools that can detect mass shooters before they strike. Second, we must stop the glorification of violence in our society. This includes the gruesome and grisly video games that are now commonplace. It is too easy today for troubled youth to surround themselves with a culture that celebrates violence. We must stop or substantially reduce this, and it has to begin immediately. Cultural change is hard, but each of us can choose to build a culture that celebrates the inherent worth and dignity of every human life. 250 mass shootings in 2019 alone. Shootings across schools, workplaces, nightclubs, stores, parks, festivals. But according to the president, video games cause mass shootings. But let's back up a little bit. There are an estimated 90 million PlayStation 4s sold worldwide, an estimated 50 million Xbox Ones, and an estimated 34 million Nintendo Switches. Currently, it's suspected that there are 2.2 billion gamers in the world. Gamers ranging from PC players, console-based gamers, or gamers on mobile devices like smartphones or tablets. Video games are now a global form of entertainment. The ESA reports that in 2018, the video game industry hit a record-breaking $78 billion in revenue, with the top 5 countries consuming video games being Japan, South Korea, America, the United Kingdom, and Canada. Just to be clear, countries like Japan and South Korea consume video games at a higher rate than America. And according to the president, video games cause mass shootings. And by that logic, both Japan and South Korea would be leading the charts in mass shootings or gun-related deaths. But they aren't. In 2015, South Korea had 31 gun-related deaths, and Japan had 23. Compared to the United States, who had 17,525. In fact, you could combine the top 10 countries that consume video games, including Japan, South Korea, United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, and China. And America would still have 5,515 more gun-related deaths than any of those countries combined. But clearly, something is wrong. Because as the president said, video games cause mass shootings. So if it's not the consumption of the games that cause mass shootings, it must be the content included in the actual video games themselves. I mean, video games like Call of Duty have been giving gamers the ability to emulate the experience of being on an actual battlefield. These games have become so realistic that the US military uses first-person shooters as recruiting tools for the army. And it seems like any time you talk about Call of Duty, moments like No Russian are brought up. For those of you that aren't aware, No Russian is a moment where you play as a soldier undercover in a terrorist organization. You're tested by the terrorists when you must shoot at innocent civilians in an airport. To someone that knows nothing about video games, you could easily begin to make the argument that this moment could be used as a training ground for potential mass shooters. But the numbers, once again, do not support that narrative. No Russian is part of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which originally released in 2009. Within the first 24 hours, the game reportedly sold 4.7 million units across the United States and the United Kingdom. As of 2010, it was estimated that the game sold 10 million copies in the United States alone. And currently, it's at an estimated 29 million copies sold worldwide. So if we were to take the estimated 10 million copies of Modern Warfare 2 sold in the United States, and just for 1 second, assumed that video games do cause mass shootings. This is going to sound extremely brash, but if this were the case, 250 mass shootings in 8 months would be considered an off year. But once again, the president says, video games cause mass shootings. And to make a statement like that, you would have to have some form of science or studies to back it up, right? But unfortunately, they don't exist. In fact, the American Psychological Association adopted a policy on the correlation of violent video games and mass shootings, in which they said, scant evidence has emerged that makes any casual or correlational connection between playing violent video games and actually committing violent activities. The study was so conclusive that the head of the committee, Dr. Chris Ferguson, told the New York Times that the data on bananas causing suicide is about as conclusive as video games causing violence. Literally, the numbers work out about the same. And personally, I've been playing video games for as long as I can remember. You know, one of my earliest memories is my aunt babysitting me as we played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the Super Nintendo. That game required you to play as a turtle who violently beat up the Foot Clan soldiers. So fast forward 29 years of video games and I don't have a violent bone in my body. I mean, just last month, I ran over a nest of bunnies while mowing my lawn and it wrecked me for weeks. If video games truly desensitized me and they truly created violence, wouldn't that situation not have faced me? But once again, the president says, video games cause mass shootings. And perhaps he knows something that we all don't. Perhaps those in power have data or statistics that support the belief that video games truly cause mass shootings. Or perhaps they know what really causes mass shootings. And the president is simply using video games as a scapegoat to draw our attention from the real issue. 250 mass shootings. 979 people are injured, and 246 people are dead in just 8 months. And the one point I'll leave you with is this. If sacrificing video games would ensure the safety of thousands of Americans, and it would ensure that children would never have to go to school in fear, take my fucking games. You see, unlike those who disavow the idea of gun control or scoff at the idea of mental health reform, I'm willing to make sacrifices if it means saving the lives of thousands of Americans every year. We have to try something. When did the value of protecting an inanimate object become more important than the value of someone's life? It's time to put our pettiness aside and solve this epidemic. This should not be the new norm. America can do way better than this. We have to do better. We'll be right back. And finally, for this week, we come to... That noise, of course, signifies that we are running out of time and coming close to the end of the show. So, in order to cover all the week's remaining news, we must initiate a segment that I like to call... Every single week, we have so much news to talk about and so little time to do it. So we take all the week's remaining news, put 60 seconds on the clock, and try to cover it as fast as humanly possible without running out of breath, passing out, or
Dying!
So with that in mind, let's put 60 seconds on the clock, one-handed. Thunder noise! And go. WWE 2K20 has revealed the cover art for the game, Roman Reigns and Becky Lynch. Gamescom is next week, which is going to be big, huge. Can't wait. Call of Duty Modern Warfare will be getting a Battle Royale mode in 2020. Rocket League has finally gotten rid of all loot boxes. That's insane to finally hear about. Anthem's Cataclysm event has finally arrived. Ninja has officially hit 1 million subscribers on Mixer. The fantastic game Journey is now available on iOS devices. Google will be holding a Google Stadia Connect next week. FIFA 20 will feature female managers for the first time. Wow, that seems like that should have happened years ago. Brawlhalla has a WWE crossover event going on right now. Gears of War 5 has officially gone gold, and Resident Evil's Jill Valentine is now a playable character in Tekken. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for Nerfed in 60 Seconds, and that is it for this week's episode of the show. If you like what you saw and you want to see more content just like it, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and please share it with your friends. As always, my name is Bryant Chappelle. You are you, and this has been the Nerf Report. Thanks for watching. Thanks so much for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw and you want to see more content just like it, hit that subscribe button. Fun fact, we hit 1,500 subscribers this week. I think we're at like 15 something right now. It's awesome. Can't wait. 2,000 is the next mark, so please tell your friends. Tell them about the show. Get us to 2,000 subscribers.